Welcome back to our channel, dear friends. We always love sharing these moments with you, exploring the deep emotional currents of our favorite characters. Let us unravel the tangled web of secrets that General Hospital has spun for us this week. For those of us who have been watching General Hospital for decades, we know that the quietest moments in a hospital room often precede the most deafening explosions of truth. There is a specific kind of tension that builds when a character is sitting by a bedside surrounded by the rhythmic beeping of monitors and the sterile scent of antiseptic. This week, we found ourselves sitting right alongside Nina as she kept a devoted vigil by the bed of the man she desperately wanted to believe was her beloved brother, Nathan. Watching Nina in this vulnerable state tugs at the heartstrings of any longtime viewer. We all remember the tragic loss of the real Nathan, a man whose goodness and pure heart left an indelible mark on Port Charles. Nina has carried the grief of his death like a heavy stone for years, and the miraculous, almost unbelievable prospect of his return was a beacon of hope she clung to with every fiber of her being. But as we know all too well in the world of daytime television, miracles are rarely what they seem, and the truth has a funny way of revealing itself in the most mundane of places. The turning point of this entire storyline hinged on something as simple and routine as a medical file. While keeping watch over the man calling himself Nathan, Nina innocently picked up his newly updated chart. It is a scene we have witnessed countless times in the halls of General Hospital, a stray glance at a piece of paper that holds the power to shatter lives. As her eyes scanned the clinical data, they landed on a minor, seemingly insignificant detail, the blood type. But for a sister who has shed tears over her brother's medical crises in the past, that detail was a glaring, flashing siren. The blood type on the chart did not match the blood type she knew her brother possessed. In that fleeting second, you could almost see the tectonic plates of Nina's reality shifting beneath her. The brilliant nuance of this moment lies in its subtlety. There was no grand confession, no dramatic unmasking in the town square. It was just a quiet, horrifying realization born from a single mismatched letter on a medical form, a discrepancy that immediately planted a seed of profound doubt in a mind that had been so desperate to believe. When Nina gently confronted Cassius about this medical anomaly, the psychological manipulation that followed was nothing short of chilling. Cassius, wearing the beloved face of Nathan, did not miss a beat. He immediately adopted a facade of deep vulnerability and hurt, masterfully deflecting her completely valid questions. He blamed the discrepancy on a clerical error, a simple mistake made by the General Hospital laboratory staff. Watching him spin this lie, one cannot help but feel a surge of protective anger for Nina. We have seen her manipulated, gaslit, and emotionally abused by so many people in her past. To see this imposter use the trust and love she holds for her dead brother as a weapon against her is truly despicable. Cassius played the victim flawlessly, making Nina feel almost guilty for daring to question the impossible blessing of his return. It is a classic tactic used by the most dangerous kind of deceivers, twisting the narrative so that the person seeking the truth feels like the one committing a betrayal. However, even the most skilled liars have their blind spots, and Cassius's fatal flaw was his severe underestimation of the emotional bond between a father and his son. The true turning point, the moment that irrevocably fractured Nina's trust, occurred when the conversation naturally drifted to James. For those of us who cherish the real Nathan, we know that his love for his son James was his defining characteristic. Nathan would have moved heaven and earth for that little boy. When Nina brought up James, expecting the warm, radiant affection that always accompanied Nathan's mention of his child, she was met with something entirely different. Cassius was awkward, evasive, and entirely disconnected. He lacked the visceral, unconditional love that should have flooded his eyes at the mere sound of the boy's name. It was a glaring, emotional void that no amount of physical resemblance could fill. This was the exact moment the illusion shattered completely. A blood type mismatch can be rationalized as a clerical error, but a father's apathy toward his own flesh and blood, That is an imposter's undeniable signature. The internal crisis that Nina must have experienced in that exact moment is almost too immense to comprehend. Imagine looking into the eyes of someone who possesses the exact face, the exact voice, and the exact mannerisms of the person you love and mourn the most, only to realize that a stranger and likely a very dangerous one is looking back at you. The grief of losing Nathan, which she had just begun to tentatively pack away, must have come crashing back down upon her with double the force, compounded by the sheer terror of her current reality. Yet, this is where we witness a truly remarkable evolution in Nina's character. In years past, a younger, more volatile Nina might have screamed, thrown things, or immediately confronted the imposter in a tearful, chaotic rage. She might have alerted the hospital security or completely broken down at the bedside. But the Nina we see today is a survivor who has learned the harsh lessons of Port Charles the hard way. Instead of succumbing to her immediate emotional devastation, she made a calculated, incredibly brave choice. With a steady hand and a heart likely pounding out of her chest, Nina covertly collected a few strands of Cassius's hair. This small, stealthy action marks a monumental shift in the narrative. Nina is no longer just a passive victim of the Cassadine or WSB machinations. She is actively stepping into the role of a strategist. She is securing the biological evidence she needs to prove her horrifying theory beyond a shadow of a doubt. By sending this sample off for a secret DNA test, Nina is arming herself with undeniable truth. But the most compelling aspect of this entire situation is her decision to remain silent. She knows that the man in the bed is a fake, yet she continues to smooth his blankets, offer him water, and play the role of the overjoyed, devoted sister. The psychological fortitude required to maintain this charade is staggering. She is sleeping next to the enemy, smiling at a monster, all while a ticking time bomb of a DNA test processes in a hidden laboratory. Why, we must ask ourselves, would Nina choose to carry this agonizing burden alone? Why not expose Cassius the moment she secured the hair sample? The answer lies in the deeply complex, incredibly dangerous web of crises currently suffocating her family. Nina is acutely aware that exposing Cassius now could trigger a catastrophic chain reaction that she cannot control. Her primary overriding concern is the terrifying disappearance of her aunt, Liesl Obrecht. As viewers, we know the horrifying truth. Liesl has been violently abducted by the ruthless Ross Cullum and is currently being held captive at Windermere alongside a psychologically broken Jocelyn Jacks. We also know that Cassius has already cruelly revealed his true identity to Liesl, tormenting her with the knowledge that he is Nathan's twin. While Nina may not know the exact gruesome details of Liesl's captivity, her instincts are screaming that her aunt is in mortal danger. She knows that Cassius is somehow connected to this dark, sprawling conspiracy. If she blows his cover now, she risks losing whatever fragile trail she has to find Liesl. Cassius is her only link to the people who have taken her family, and she must play his twisted game to uncover their location. Furthermore, Nina's protective instincts are fiercely engaged by the desperate plight of Britt. Britt, along with little Rocco, is currently a fugitive on the run, being hunted by the relentless forces of the WSB, Cullum, and even Sonny's operative Brick. The stakes for Britt's survival are astronomical. Nina knows that the people pulling Cassius's strings are the same people who want to capture or eliminate Britt. By keeping her knowledge of Cassius's true identity a closely guarded secret, Nina is attempting to buy Britt time. She is operating under the desperate hope that by maintaining the status quo, she can prevent the enemy from escalating their hunt. It is a heartbreaking sacrifice. Nina is essentially swallowing her own trauma, her own desperate need for justice, for Nathan's memory, in order to act as a human shield for her aunt and her cousin. It is a testament to the fierce, unyielding loyalty that defines the Obrecht-Reeves family dynamic, a loyalty that has been forged in the fires of countless tragedies. And if the crises involving Liesl and Britt were not enough to justify her silence, Nina is also carrying the heavy, complicated burden of Willow Kane's rapid descent into darkness. As we have watched with growing alarm, Willow has become entangled in a terrifying situation of her own making. She has drugged Drew Kane, simulating a stroke to cover her tracks, and is now facing the terrifying consequences of her actions. To make matters infinitely worse, the dangerously calculating Jack Brennan has realized that Nina was not the one who drugged him, and he has cornered Willow with a dark, manipulative alliance. Nina, despite the incredibly fractured and painful history she shares with her biological daughter, still possesses a fierce maternal instinct to protect her. She can see that Willow is drowning in a sea of blackmail and moral compromise. Nina knows that if she ignites a massive public scandal by exposing Cassius, the resulting chaos will only make it harder for her to intervene and save Willow from Brennan's clutches. She needs clarity, she needs leverage, and most importantly, she needs time. The sheer volume of secrets and active threats that Nina is currently juggling is breathtaking. She is standing at the epicenter of a massive, interconnected crisis that threatens to tear Port Charles apart. On one side, she has the WSB and Ross Cullum holding her aunt hostage. On another, she has her cousin fleeing for her life with a child. On yet another, she has her daughter caught in the web of a ruthless blackmailer. And right in front of her, lying in a hospital bed, is the physical embodiment of her greatest grief, twisted into a cruel mockery by an imposter. It is a masterful piece of storytelling that forces a character to choose between immediate personal and the long-term survival of the people she loves. Nina's choice to endure the psychological torture of pretending to love Cassius while secretly plotting his downfall is one of the most compelling arcs she has ever been given. It transforms her from a tragic victim of circumstance into a silent, lethal guardian of her family's future.